I was just saying to Father Russell, the last time I was in this church was about 16 years ago, when I was Bishop of Kroonstad, just before I went to Cape Town. So it's really lovely to be with you this evening, and thank you so much for coming to give support to Fathers Botha and Ndlovu. We're celebrating the feast of Mary, Queen of Palestine, which is the feast of the Order of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre, and of course a very important feast day in the Holy Land itself. For you who perhaps do not know too much about the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, you of course can read the history in the booklet. And we are told, it is believed, that this order dates back nearly to the First Crusades. And the first reference to it was in 1336. It was restored in the 19th century. And its aims are first and foremost, of course, to strengthen the members of the order in the practice of the Christian life. And they are bound by absolute obedience to the Holy Father. So it is for their benefit as well to strengthen them in their Christianity and to help them to transform and to continue to grow as disciples of Jesus Christ. Secondly, the order is to sustain and to aid charitable, cultural and social works and institutions of the Catholic Church in the Holy Land. This is the land of the birth of Jesus, the land of Mary and Joseph, the land of the Apostles, the land of the beginning of our faith, the Incarnation, the Passion and death of Jesus and His resurrection. And it's saying that aid is given to sustain the charitable, cultural and social works means to give help and assistance to the small church in Palestine, a church which was quite large in the past, reaching certainly more than 20% of the population, and today is much more diminished. And thirdly, to support the presence and the propagation of the faith in the Holy Land. The Knights often talk, the Knights and Dames often talk of the 3 P's of prayer. Prayer for the Holy Land, for the Christian Church there. Pilgrimage, second, to organize pilgrimages to the Holy Land, again for the strengthening of the faith of all the members of the Holy Land, but also to give support to the Church there. The pilgrimages are not only to the holy places, but to the living Church, the living stones of the Holy Land, to get to know Christians and Catholics in the Holy Land. And the third P, of course, is alms, pence, to contribute for the sustenance of the charitable works and the good works of the Church in the Holy Land. The Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre is the only institution, the only lay institution of the Vatican that is charged with the task of providing for the needs of the Latin Patriarchate in Jerusalem. And it gives support of all the organizations, the work of the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, presently Cardinal Brislin. And so there is support for the institutions to support the Christian presence in the Holy Land. And indeed, the order, the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre, is the main source of funding for the Latin Patriarchate. There are about 23,000 members of this order across the world, and it is humanitarian. In the Holy Land, it has built at least 14 schools, that cater for, at the present moment, about 19,000 pupils, perhaps not quite at the present moment, and give support to the 68 parishes in the Holy Land, as well as the seminary in Bethlehem, and to a number of orphanages and clinics. The Order has, as I've said, a special devotion to Our Lady, the Queen of Palestine. Mary was born in the Holy Land, and in the Holy Land she submitted herself to the will of God. And so we entrust the Church in the Holy Land to her special protection. The Equestrian Order is not a political group. It doesn't get involved in politics, in the general sense of the word. But at the same time, it is quite obvious that members of the Order cannot be indifferent and oblivious of the suffering that has taken place, that is taking place particularly at this time. We cannot be oblivious to the genocide and war crimes that are being committed. This is undeniable today. So the important thing is that as members of the Order, we stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, Christian and non-Christian. The aim is always peace, to build peace, to promote peace. That is always the aim. But it is a peace that must be based on justice. It cannot be a peace that is imposed or a peace that is somehow instituted through power. It is a peace that must be based on justice and equity. In seeking peace, of course, we aim to build bridges between people. To build bridges in order that people can know each other, understand each other, listen to each other, and that they can be good neighbors to each other. Not neighbors who only tolerate each other, but neighbors who accept each other and accept difference, and accept the humanity of each other. So to you, to new members of this Order, please don't forget the aims of the Order, and allow the Order and the participation in it to strengthen you in your Christian living. This means participating, facing the truth, practicing love through concrete actions, living the values of the Gospel, and respect the dignity of each and every person, for equality and for solidarity, especially with those who are suffering and in poverty. I hope and trust that when all the troubles in the Holy Land and the violence comes to an end, that those who have been the subjects of violence, the victims of violence, will be able to say afterwards that through all our sorrows, through all our sufferings, the Church stood with us. We cannot solve the problems, but we can be in solidarity with those who are suffering. The Holy Father, Leo XIV, issued his first apostolic exhortation yesterday. It's called Exhortate. The words, I have loved you, from the book of Revelation. And in that apostolic exhortation, he emphasizes the dignity of the human person and the fact that we cannot treat people as a throwaway commodity. We cannot trample on them, no matter how poor, how vulnerable, or how weak they may be. We have to respect the dignity of each and every person, not just the wealthy and the powerful and the influential. In that same apostolic exhortation, he says that we cannot side with the powerful who abuse their power and their wealth. It is not a criticism of people who are wealthy, or people who are rich. It is a criticism of when people try to put themselves into a bubble of luxury and are oblivious to the suffering and the poverty of others. We are called to be good neighbors to others, in the example of the Good Samaritan, to stand with those who are vulnerable and weak, and if I can put it this way, simply to have humanity. to know what humanity is, and not to be elitist, not to cut ourselves off from the real suffering that is happening around us, whether it's in the Holy Land or our own country, or wherever in the world. We've got to, as Christians, but really as human beings, simply to have that ability to understand the suffering of others and to be able to reach out to them in whatever way we can. And that might not be through material goods or through solving their problems, but it can certainly be in terms of solidarity, of standing with those who are weak and vulnerable. So this evening we pray and we ask Our Lady to continue to intercede for the people of the Holy Land, all the people of the Holy Land, to intercede for the Catholic Church in the Holy Land, because this is our church, it is dear to us.